Hi everyone, and welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. Today I'll be reviewing Elden Ring, although from a slightly different perspective than a lot of reviews which are already out there. The difference is that I haven't really played a Dark Souls or Dark Souls-like game before, save for about 45 minutes of the first Dark Souls game, and deciding at that time that it wasn't really for me. So for those that don't already know, Elden Ring is the latest game brought to us by From Software, a Japanese developer whose credentials, dating back as far as 1994, include the Dark Souls series of games and a number of other games emulating the same hardcore and punishing style of gameplay, such as Sekiro and Bloodborne. This is what has brought nigh on universal acclaim to the developer's name. By way of brief overview about Elden Ring, you play as a Tarnished, an unremarkable individual attempting to fulfill a destiny steeped in mystery and metaphor to become the Elden Lord. All of this broadly explained through an impressive, artful and brilliant narrated cinematic as soon as you begin playing the game. The game is open world, and whilst you're given a broad direction to travel in, you're encouraged to explore and find secrets and additional loot off the beaten path. The gameplay loop is essentially to level up and defeat bosses, which will aid that leveling process. This sounds simple, but there is far more to the game beyond this most basic mechanic. I would absolutely recommend before you start out looking into the different classes in the game and how they play. Some are more beginner friendly than others, although nothing in this game is easy at all. It is beyond the scope of this review to discuss this further, but I would certainly suggest any new players consider the Astrologer or the Samurai classes. I should also preface the remainder of this review by saying that my experience of this game was on PC, and I played keyboard and mouse. I'm reliably informed that playing on controller is better for Elden Ring. However, my wired Xbox 360 controller, which I've never had an issue with working on any other game, would not work for Elden Ring, and I adapted to keyboard and mouse nicely, so I don't really feel the need to change now. I do also want to stress again that this review is from the perspective of someone with almost no experience of a Souls-like game, so my views and tolerances are likely different to those who've played, say, Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Sekiro, Bloodborne, and those similar games in that vein. So although people who've played those games might find it interesting to see the perspective of a newbie like me, this review is perhaps aimed as a more informational piece for those who are in the same position as I was prior to playing Elden Ring, i.e. limited to no experience of From Software games. So the first thing I'll address is the negatives about Elden Ring, as there are a few in my view, but not many. First, the menus and interface of the game. It's all very unintuitive. Again, I've been told by those with many hours in Souls games that this is par for the course, and they're perhaps well adjusted to this. However, as a new starter, I found it all very frustrating. Even at 20-ish hours into the game, I find myself avoiding the menu interface as much as possible. There's so many sub-menus and options to choose from just to use even the most basic item, which, say, gives you runes, which is the basic currency you use to level up and purchase items as you find vendors during the game. The optimization for PC is also very poor. On booting up the game, I was being shown button prompts for controller, but my controller did not work, so I did not know how to go back from any of the menu options. This was extremely frustrating. I eventually found the option to show keyboard button prompts and discovered that the back button was Q rather than escape. Because of course. Then, still on the matter of optimization, there are issues with frame drops in the game. Although not frequent during my gameplay, there have been about 3 or 4 occasions, mainly in the overworld areas, where I've had crippling frame drops during boss fights, which have consequently made difficult engagements even harder. I understand that From Software is aware of this and working on fixes at the time of this review, so hopefully that will be rolled out relatively soon. That's about it for the negatives. As more of an informational point, I saw one review before purchasing this game which said that it was easier than Dark Souls. I feel obligated to say, please do not be misled. This game does not stray far from the Dark Souls formula. If it is easier, which it may well be, then it's maybe between 1 and 5% easier in my view. It is still a Souls-like game. There are still plenty of bosses which will one-shot you. It is still entirely possible to die to the smallest mistake or taking on one too many basic enemies. And this is what's made From Software games so popular and what endears these games to existing fans of the genre. So I'm not faulting this. But if you are intending to buy Elden Ring or are considering it, please be prepared for this fact. With that said, my first day on the game was super challenging. I really struggled to get to grips with it, but did persevere. And I think if anybody is able to do the same, then you will begin to enjoy the game. I will be clear that the enjoyment in this game does not come from dying repeatedly for an hour or more to the same boss. And this will happen. This is normal. The enjoyment comes from the triumph of learning mechanics, attack patterns, and then defeating that boss after all that time. The exploration aspect of the game is also very fun and feels nicely rewarding, even if most of said exploration results in a good hour boss fight at the end. The loot reward will follow if you persevere. So, the positives, beyond the gratification of success in defeating the bosses of the game is enormous. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface at 20 hours. I've heard people saying they've put hundreds of hours into the game and still feel like they haven't scratched the surface. I've heard others say that there's over 100 hours of content in the game, even doing the bare minimum to complete the main story, as it were. There are also over 80 bosses in this game, over 70 of them unique, so content is far from lacking. The world is absolutely huge and feels very well populated, and there is plenty of variety to the landscape as you explore. It does not feel repetitive at any point. You also obtain a mount in the form of a spectral horse very early on, which allows you to traverse the world at relative speed. If this is not fast enough, then there is also a well-integrated fast travel system between grey spots, which essentially act as checkpoints where you can refill health, mana and level up, and use fast travel. In addition, and aside from the optimization issues mentioned earlier, the game is highly polished. I've maybe found one minor bug during gameplay, no more than that. Animations feel smooth and complete. The boss fights are challenging but winnable with the right practice. The arenas for the boss fights are also very well considered and designed. They always feel the right size to add to the challenge, but not so small that they over-restrict your playstyle. Even the largest arenas have obstacles spread throughout, so you have to consider the potential for scenery blocking your movement and adapting to this on the fly. The variety of weapons, armour and spells in the game also feels good. You find plenty of them, and certain bosses will offer unique weapons with unique fun attributes and abilities. Although the very nature of the game means that you end up being a little shoehorned into using a particular type of weapon, but this does then encourage multiple playthroughs of the game if you are that way inclined. So, if you're a lover of Souls-like games, you will love Elden Ring. It ticks the boxes you'll be looking for and goes further. It's a no-brainer. Just buy the game and enjoy. If you're a new player, or almost new, like me, I still think Elden Ring is worth a shot, provided you're the sort of player who can learn from mistakes and misplays and take time to learn the boss encounters and progress based on this learning. As long as you can accept that you might take hours to kill a single boss, but that you will get there, then I'm reasonably confident you will enjoy the game. If none of that sounds like you, then it might actually be a game to miss, as you probably have with all other Souls games to date. I hope you enjoyed the video, and most importantly, I hope you found this review helpful as well. If you want to see more Elden Ring before making any decision about the game, then I am streaming it on my Twitch channel every day right now. The link to my Twitch channel is in the description of this video. I also stream a variety of other games, so feel free to pop by anytime. Everyone is welcome. And finally, if you enjoyed this video, a like and a comment would be greatly appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to more easily find more content like this on my channel. Big love to you all, and catch you all very soon. Take care.